Let me tell you something that most people don't realize until it's too late. Your outer world is a direct reflection of your inner world. Your income, your relationships, your health, your peace of mind, it's all rooted in what's going on inside of you. See, a lot of folks are trying to change the fruit, but they're ignoring the root. And if the root is bitter, the fruit can't be sweet. You ever seen someone hit a financial breakthrough and a few months later they're back to being broke? It's not the money that left. It's the mindset that never shifted. That's why the lottery winner goes bankrupt, but the millionaire who loses it all earns it back. Because one person had money, the other had the mentality for money. The bank account was never the real issue. The issue was internal. I remember a time when I was stuck, broke, not just in my pockets, but in my thinking. I was waiting for opportunities to come to me, blaming the system, blaming the circumstances, even blaming God. But what I didn't realize was I was expecting change without changing. I was looking for answers out there while ignoring the questions I was too afraid to ask myself. That's when I learned the hard truth: nothing changes until you change. And I'm not talking about behavior modification. I'm talking about identity transformation. You've got to rewire the beliefs that tell you you're not enough, you don't deserve it, or you're too late. Because as long as you believe that deep down, you'll sabotage every breakthrough that tries to bless you. Your life is a thermostat, not a thermometer. A thermostat just reads the environment, but a thermostat sets it. And too many of us are walking through life reading the temperature of our surroundings instead of setting the temperature from within. You don't like your environment? Change your internal setting. If your default belief is lack, you will unconsciously pull yourself back to lack even when abundance shows up. The power is inside of you, always has been. But inner work, it's not sexy. It's not instant. You won't get applause for it. No one's going to post a healing journey on their story and get a standing ovation. But that work, that's the foundation. That's the engine behind every transformation story you've ever admired. Everybody wants elevation, but nobody wants excavation. You can't rise until you dig. You've got to dig through the pain, the trauma, the generational beliefs, the habits that have been sabotaging you. You've got to take responsibility not for what happened to you, but for what you choose to do with it now. Because once you take ownership of your inner world, your outer world starts to obey. I'll be real with you. The breakthrough is boring. It's daily disciplines. It's shifting your mindset when nobody's watching. It's choosing faith when fear feels familiar. It's looking in the mirror and declaring a version of yourself you haven't met yet, but refusing to back down until you become it. And when you commit to that kind of inner work, when you focus on becoming rather than performing, on alignment rather than approval, you'll wake up one day and not even recognize your life. Because it won't be the circumstances that changed, it'll be you. And that's when life changes. Not when you get more money, not when you find the right partner, not when someone gives you a shot. Life changes when you do. Let me tell you something I had to learn through experience. Silence is not the absence of power. It is often the highest form of it. We live in a world where everybody's trying to be heard, everybody wants to go viral, everybody got something to say, but the loudest person in the room is usually the least dangerous. You know who you have to watch out for? The one who's quiet, the one who's calculating, the one who's watching, listening, learning, while everybody else is busy performing. Wisdom doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. Wisdom is calm. Wisdom is deliberate. And wisdom doesn't panic under pressure. That's why silence, real intentional silence, is not just about staying quiet. It's about learning how to respond instead of reacting. It's about moving with purpose instead of impulse. It's about knowing the difference between what needs your energy and what just wants your attention. See, some of you are giving energy to every voice that calls your name, every opinion that questions your worth, every battle that doesn't deserve a warrior. You're exhausting yourself defending your greatness instead of developing it. And I promise you this, you don't need to defend what God has already validated when your identity is rooted. You don't have to prove yourself to people who were never meant to understand you. There's a discipline in silence, a strength, because silence requires self-control. Silence says, I can tell you what I'm doing, but I'd rather just show you when it's done. Silence says, I don't need your approval because I already know where I'm going. Silence isn't passive, it's active obedience to the process. Now, I'm not telling you to be invisible. I'm not telling you to shrink. I'm telling you to stop announcing seeds that haven't taken root yet. You've got to protect your process. You've got to protect your peace. Because if you expose your dreams to too many voices too soon, you'll start to shape them to fit their doubts instead of God's design. And some things are too sacred to be shared prematurely. There were times in my life where I had big visions, massive plans, and I wanted to tell everybody. I wanted validation. I wanted someone to say, that's amazing, you can do it. But what I got instead were questions, confusion, fear projected onto me. And had I listened, I would have quit before I even started. So I learned, stop talking about the vision, start building it, let the results do the speaking. Because here's the truth, most people don't believe in something until it's successful. But that's not your problem. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is to obey what's been placed in your spirit. Your silence isn't for them, it's for you. It's the space where you grow. It's the quiet place where clarity lives, where strategy is birthed, where peace becomes louder than pressure. Silence creates space for alignment. When you're quiet, you can actually hear the inner voice that gets drowned out by the noise of comparison, doubt, and distraction. And once you can hear that voice, once you can lock in on what matters, everything else begins to fall away. You don't need to announce your every move. You don't need to post your pain, narrate your grind, or clap back at every critic. The best revenge is not noise, it's next level. It's showing up healed. It's showing up focused. It's showing up successful and whole and at peace while the people who doubted you are still talking and scrolling. And while they're watching, wondering what happened, the answer will be simple. You stayed silent. You stayed focused. And now the fruit is speaking for itself. We live in a time where self-promotion is the currency of attention. Everybody is branding, broadcasting, selling a version of themselves, even if they haven't done the inner work to become that version. But let me tell you something that separates the ones who last from the ones who just go viral. Self-mastery will always outperform self-promotion in the long run. You can market a moment, but only mastery sustains a movement. That's why I'd rather spend my time becoming someone of depth and discipline than someone who knows how to grab likes and followers. Because listen, followers don't build legacy, character does. If your name is louder than your nature, eventually life will expose that gap. There's a quiet power in people who don't need to be seen because they're too busy becoming. When you master yourself, your emotions, your habits, your mind, your decisions, you start to carry a presence that doesn't need an introduction. People feel it before you say a word, because greatness isn't about what you post, it's about what you practice. And let's be honest, promoting something you haven't mastered is dangerous because it creates an illusion that you can't live up to, and maintaining that illusion, that's exhausting. That's why people burn out. That's why people build platforms that collapse under pressure, because they were built on hype, not on humility. They built image but skipped integrity. But when you prioritize mastery, when you focus on becoming excellent in the dark before anyone's watching, you create a foundation that can carry the weight of what you're building. That kind of preparation isn't glamorous. It's behind the scenes. It's early mornings, late nights, and moments of doubt where nobody's clapping. But those are the places where your identity is formed. Self-mastery means you stop living on emotional autopilot. It means you don't let your circumstances dictate your consistency. It means you show up even when nobody's watching because you know that who you are in private is who you'll be in public. It means you stop waiting for the world to recognize you and start becoming someone worth recognizing. You don't need to tell people how great you are. You just need to become so excellent they can't ignore you. You don't need to explain what you're doing when the results will one day be undeniable. People may overlook you now, but when you operate from mastery, you're building something that speaks long after the noise fades. And let me tell you something I've seen time and time again. When you chase mastery, promotion shows up anyway. Excellence attracts opportunity, preparation opens doors, and the people who rise the highest are often the ones who stayed quiet the longest because they spent that time developing what others were only displaying. So while others are out there trying to convince the world they're somebody, you commit to becoming that somebody. While others are creating hype, you create habits. While others are rehearsing speeches, you're rehearsing discipline. You become the kind of person who walks into a room and doesn't need to say a word because your energy, your excellence, your essence says it all. And when that happens, when you've mastered yourself, there's no stage too big for you because you didn't build your confidence on compliments, you built it on consistency. There's a kind of power that can't be found in motion. It's found in stillness, in the quiet moments where everything in you wants to rush, react, or reach, but you choose to be still, to be focused, to be present. That's where transformation begins. Not in the chaos, not in the crowd, but in the calm. Stillness isn't stagnation, it's alignment. And alignment is what moves your life from survival to strategy. Some people confuse activity with progress. They're always busy, always grinding, always chasing, but never arriving. And the truth is, the reason they can't move forward is because their attention is scattered. Their energy is split. They're trying to water 10 seeds at once and wondering why nothing is growing. But focus, real intentional focus, takes courage. Because it means saying no to distraction. It means tuning out the noise. It means trusting that the investment you're making in one thing, in one direction, in one purpose will pay off even when you can't see results right away. Stillness is where clarity lives. It's where you stop trying to figure out 10 things at once and start listening to what actually matters. It's where you hear the whisper that gets drowned out by the noise of social media, peer pressure, doubt, and comparison. In stillness, you hear what your soul has been trying to tell you all along, that your breakthrough isn't going to come from doing more. It's going to come from becoming more aligned. When you sit with yourself, really sit, no distractions, no devices, no audience, you start to see what's real. You see what's broken. You see what needs to heal. And if you're honest, you'll also see what's been keeping you stuck. You'll see the habits, the stories, the fears that have been whispering lies like you're not ready, or you need to be everywhere at once to succeed. But the truth is, nothing great is built in a hurry. The strongest structures are rooted deep. And the same applies to your life. You don't need more movement, you need more meaning. You need more intention. You need more stillness so you can stop reacting to life and start responding to it with wisdom. You've got to trust the power of the slow build, the quiet season, the behind-the-scenes work, because everything loud, fast, and flashy fades, but what you build in stillness, what you build in focus, that's the stuff that lasts. That's the stuff that people can't take from you because it wasn't given by applause. It was forged in solitude. It was refined in silence. There's a reason the greatest transformations happen when no one is watching. Caterpillars don't become butterflies on a stage. They do it inside a cocoon, hidden, alone, in the dark. And yet that darkness isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's protection, it's process. And when you come out, you don't just look different, you are different. Because you gave yourself the gift of stillness. You gave yourself the focus to change from the inside out. Distraction is the enemy of destiny. Every moment you spend worrying about what someone else is doing is a moment you're not investing in what you're meant to do. You cannot build what's yours while watching what's theirs. Focus is a superpower, and most people never tap into it because they're too afraid to slow down long enough to find it. But once you do, once you lock in and get clear on where you're going, you'll be amazed how fast things begin to shift. Transformation doesn't happen when you're looking outward. It happens when you turn inward. When you quiet the noise, center yourself and say, this is where I'm going, and I will not be moved, because the world rewards speed, but destiny honors stillness. And when your life starts to reflect that level of clarity, commitment, and calm, that's when everything begins to change.